Legs are shaking, hands are aching. Head is pounding, the back is breaking. The more I give, the more they're taking. I'm broken down, there's no mistaking. There's no time now, for goodness sake.
Alright guys, so the next dent that we have actually is an Audi. It's the front left door. Customer doesn't really know how this occurred, but it appears to me that something was struck. I typically see a lot of these kinds of dents coming from drive-throughs, quite frankly. I see a lot of them through drive-throughs and also going through automatic car washes and things like that. So as you can see, you know, this dent is essentially right up against the fender, and it's in, for a paintless dent repair technician, the problem that we run into with a piece like this is access. So it's not just being able to touch the dent with a tool, okay, it's also being able to see the dent in relation to the magnifying glass that we need, and to be able to get the leverage and the power that we want. And so like an Audi is made out of an aluminum composite, so it's very difficult to push. I mean, the pounds of pressure between regular steel is probably somewhere in the ballpark of at least 30% harder to manage. Okay, so at the end of the day, we ended up having to pull the door off of this vehicle in order to effect a repair, which obviously affected the cost by additional $100. Okay, so I usually charge $50 to pull a door, $50 to put a door on, and then in some cases, which is not my case because I deal directly with the dealership, but in some cases it can be an additional $50 to $60 in order to reset codes on your dash. So obviously you don't want a negative up there, you know, blinking at you every day. So let's get into it. So ultimately, me and my assistant, we ended up pulling this door off the vehicle, placing it on a stand, and we were able to essentially manage the repair like that. What you're getting when you get a higher end technician is a lot of these additional abilities that, quite frankly, you're not going to find in, and I'm not even going to say they're lower end. They're not lower end technicians. What it is they're corporate technicians, and I've worked for these larger corporate companies, you know, where essentially, you know, you're getting a percentage, right? So you're getting 50%, and then they lower the rates so cheap on paintless dent repair. Right, so let's say, whereas I own my own business, I charge $100 for a dime-sized dent. Well, that company over there charges, you know, let's say they want to beat me, right? So they want to charge $80 for that repair, and then they pay the technician 50% of that. So that technician is getting $40 on it, and then because he doesn't run his own business, he's paying 33% tax on that, right? So his real nut on that dent is like really small. Okay, so you're probably turning the gears in your mind. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go pay that guy cash. Well, the reality is that he has spent his entire career avoiding these types of repairs, and he doesn't even, it's not even in his vocabulary. Okay, so they went to 3 different companies because they were like, you're going to charge us $550 to do this dent. That's ridiculous. Even though the body shop cost was $3,500, and then they're going to lose, you know, 30% value, no, not 30%, but like 16% value in the vehicle, because now the whole right side of the, or left side of the vehicle is going to have, you know, paint damage, right? So the bottom line is, or on Carfax, right? Like Carfax is significantly changing the way that all of this is looked at, because if you have a dozen cars out there that are the same, just like at any other dealership, okay, and then you've got one out there that's got a negative Carfax that's going to be 3 pages of red, essentially, okay, if they don't sell that unit out there on the lot, then they're on the hook for that unit, right? And obviously they don't want that. So the bottom line is that paintless dent repair is the future. It is. I mean, especially stuff like this where we can knock a dent out fairly reasonably cheap, or at least 70% cheaper than a body shop can. It's not going to go on Carfax. You know, it's not going to negatively impact the value of the vehicle. And that's a done deal. right? So I often say to customers, you know, if I walk into, if a painter and a dent guy walk into a general manager's office at a used car dealership lot, okay, and the painter says, you know what, it's $1,000 to fix, correction, the dent repair guy goes, it's $1,000 to fix this, a type of dent like this, and then the body shop goes, I'll do it for free. The general manager is always going to look at the paintless dent repair technician and say, how soon can you get it done, right? And so the bottom line is, we ended up having to pull the door on this vehicle. We ended up having to create access, i.e. we had to drill a hole in the vehicle on the opposite end of this dent in order to bring that dent up. Obviously, we're going to always use 3M cavity wax, which doesn't really matter in this case because it's an aluminum composite. It's never going to rust anyways, but we always do it. And then we're also going to place a factory plug in there, which is going to, you know, essentially be plugged up. Now, that doesn't affect the value of the vehicle. That doesn't have any impact if it's done properly by a certified technician. It's not going to have any real impact on the safety of the vehicle and things like that. So the bottom line is, we were the first steps on a repair like this. Let me skip over here to the next image for myself. So as you can see here, you know, I've got it on a stand, okay, and just below where the bolt is to hold the bottom portion of the door, we did create access on the lower inside of that. And what we did is I ended up spending about 4 hours just on the lower portion of this. A, because it's aluminum. B, because, you know, from a distance in the shop, I kept picking up pieces, and I just kept, you know, slowly over time just going over and over and over and over it again. But I had a really difficult time with this line, primarily because that little swoop right there kind of bends down. And so, you know, I was able to get the line built. But so really and truly, again, how I ended up doing this repair was, first I worked the bulk. Then I began to slowly build the line. 30% on the line, 20% on the bulk. 30% on the line, 20% on the bulk. 5% on the line, right? So forth, so on. So all of that being said, you know, and then you also have this little top piece right here where you've got a little pimple that came all the way up and almost cracks the paint. All right, this is where, you know, the whole tapping down process, and we'll have videos just on tap downs, you know, but, you know, and this is also right through the middle of the intrusion beam, which is great in the event of a front-end collision. That's going to be really helpful for you, but from a paintless dent repair perspective, it's extremely complex. So now I've got all of this. I got another beam running directly, and look, this stuff's tight. I mean, it's within a quarter of an inch. I mean, this stuff is right on there, okay? And as these vehicles have become more like computers, you know, all this stuff is packed in with sensors. You know, you've got computer components, you know, for airbags. Like, you know, it's just, they're becoming denser and denser and denser. And so, you know, a guy, you know, you call a guy up and he goes like, you got a little dent on your car, right? It's a little bitty dent. It's so small, I can barely see it. It's so small. Hey, guys, it's so small, right? And you're like, so, I mean, this lady was absolutely livid. Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that you're going to charge me blah, 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 blah. It's just a little dent. Well, the reality is a lot different, right? So they see us as like these magicians. We're not. What it is it's a lot of hard work and labor that's going on in the background to make the magic happen. All right, we're not David Copperfield. What we are is we're just extremely hard workers. We're in there hustling. You know, getting this door off was a challenge. You know, and I can't even get into all of the stuff to take this door apart. See, it's not just taking the door apart. I got to gut everything that's in the door out. And I'm not trying to just like, you know, tell you how hard my life is. I'm just saying that you got to realize that it's not just this little bitty ding or this little bitty dent. It's a lot of times the location, the type of metal that we're dealing with. Is it on a body line? All of those things play a vital role in how we're coming about with a quote for you. And so, don't just brush a lot of this stuff off. If a guy's giving you a quote for $1,000 and then there's another guy that's right down the road and he's giving you a quote for half of that, it's not like your yard guy, right? Or like buying a gallon of milk. You got to just say, because look, man, I can cut corners on this, right? I can cut corners on this and I can do dangerous things to your vehicle that'll affect the value of your vehicle, okay? That, really and truly, it should never happen, right? So like, just before you make a decision based upon pricing, you have to realize that there's a lot more behind the scenes. Look for Vail certified technicians. Look for guys that are NAPDRT, certified. Look for guys that have been doing this for a long time, and not just guys that have recent reviews, but look in their past. The bottom line is the end product is here. Okay. As you can see, this dent is totally gone. It is completely gone. Now, there was a light scratch just above the top portion that happened in the initial impact that had nothing to do with the paintless dent repair in this case. But, still great product. Customer was absolutely thrilled. Maybe not with the price, okay? But a lot of times what we're doing is we're teaching, right? We're explaining to people all of this stuff over and over and over again. And, if you're thinking about getting a paintless dent repair today on your vehicle, or even you're a paintless dent repair technician, all the paintless dent repair technicians out there are going, yep. And all the customers out there are going, $100? Well, you know what? $100 is a minimum charge on a dealership lot, right? And you got to think, a dime-sized dent, we can rock through 30 of those in a day, typically, right? And so a typical technician is going to have anywhere between 18 to 30 dealerships, and they're all jumping up and down, screaming, hollering, we got to go. I got this car is for sale Sunday, Saturday. So we're working 16 hours a day, right? We're going to come to you, right? We're going to make this repair happen. In most cases, in this case, this is not the case. So I had to pull the door off. So they came to me, but actually she drank her soy latte in waiting room while they brought from the dealership to my shop, and I repaired it in my shop. But I digress. So let's go on to the next dent.
And now I can't escape memories haunting